Hello, welcome to WRUW-FM 91.1 Cleveland. You are currently listening to A Different Drum every Monday, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Today I have a very special guest, local hip-hop duo Fresh Produce, composed of DJ Red Eye and Plain Jane. Their music has a brilliant energy combined with introspective lyrics, catchy hooks, and a production style that incorporates elements of soul, jazz, and reggae. I was first introduced to them when they opened for Jizza at the Beachland Ballroom, which was a great show. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, now to introduce you to their music, here is their song, Black Love.
So, dude decides to clean his ride. Saturday around noon, decides to take a drive. Cruise past, sees shorty walking and says hi. He sees that she is feeling him, emotions come inside. She always liked his style, always felt his vibes. And she sees that he's got bad intentions in his eyes. It don't matter, cause maybe in that one night, she can get that chance to be that one woman in his life. They dream of the ocean, sweet coasting the horizon line. Toasting, sipping the sweetest Hawaiian wine if that even exists. She swore she saw the light in his kisses and hopes that God grants her wishing one day he'll be calling a miss. They playing phone tag, for bag, they sending love letters, storms they weather together. Christmas, they bought each other sweaters like some junior high story Cinderellas, no controlling them. Love's got a hold of them and holding them close. It's like
in her mind scenes from the first time. Effortless pleasure make her rewind to springtime. Unfolding secrecy she hold beneath the creases. Emotional releases flow until the feeling ceases. She misses him, me Jones back, messages and phone tag. Reminisce what life was like before her name going back. She never met a king in the rough sparkling. Part the seam, raise the light, replace the night for brighter dreams. The first man to give before he even took from her. Brothers run away, can't even get a look from her. And all the girls he used to check out get X'd out, making room for the Bonner bloom. Them chicks would never let sprout. Aura's glowing, love is growing, unafraid of where they going. Seeds planted over seasons. He sees that she is showing connected perfection, past, future, present. Two souls stepping in the new roles and true blessings.
So that song right there was Black Love by Fresh Produce. They're joining me today right now. So how did you guys write that song?
Oh, well, that song, I wrote it when I was about 16, 17. It was just a response to a book I read. So I just imagined two people meeting each other and starting a relationship and what that would be like. So it was kind of just a fun thing I did on a boring Sunday.
So it's really just inspired by like a book and you're just trying to tell a story.
Yeah, tell a story, how I would tell it, you know what I mean? So
is that how most of your songs come about, or?
Yes, I'm always sometimes I'm trying to tell a story that I just made up characters that I may put in a verse, and sometimes it's a reflection of something that happened or thoughts I have. So I really try to pull from my own perspective every time I write a verse.
And the beat, how did you make that? And also, did the beat come first or did the lyrics come first?
I'd definitely say in terms of the song being created, it's weird because sometimes I'll be working on a beat and I'm like, Sam, what do you think about this? And like, she might, write something on the spot or take the sound home and
and write to it, or she'd be like, you know what, I already have something that was perfect for it. So if I do remember correctly, it was like I was working on the beat, and Sam says, "Oh, I have something that fit," because you had that verse written already,
right.
And just going back and forth with it, and then like I did like the last verse, which was just kind of just an extension of like what Sam was already doing, like kind of like the inner city fairy tale love story, because you never really hear about it, like, you know, love stories in the hood, you know, girl meets boy and they walk off kind of like happily ever after. So we just thought it would be something, you know, cool like that. And it kind of had, the beat was just kind of like a soulful kind of summertime feel to it. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to build on that vibe.
Just trying to have the beat have a vibe that kind of matches the happy, upbeat tone of the music. Mm-hmm. So what's the origin of your guys' name, Fresh Produce?
It was just based on a conversation me and Brittany had just about what we wanted to bring. So it was an organic vibe and good for the body and soul type of music. So it's better for your body and soul than fresh produce.
Mm-hmm.
So music that's really food for the soul.
Exactly.
Not just something to get down to.
Right.
Yeah. So
this next question is for DJ Red Eye. What kind of producers inspired you when you just got started?
It's a weird variety because like I've been a music hoarder my whole life. You know, I come from a long line of music collectors. So, you know, a lot of like hip hop production. When I was a teenager, like from the Bay Area, like DJ Shadow and stuff that was going on with the quantum sounds and the like all of the stuff's just coming out the West Coast, but then a lot of the East Side production, like East Coast, like RZA, DJ Premier, Q-Tip. Then, you know, I feel like every millennial goes through their Pharrell and NERD phase. And Pharrell had a very dominant, like percussive, funky sound. And, you know, and then of course Dilla. But then on the flip side, I'm half Jamaican. So I've always grown up with like a lot of just like dance hall and like Jamaican music roots. So like Junjo Laws, Steely and Clevie, Tubby, Jammy, Professor. Even I would study the rhythm sections of reggae like Sly and Robbie and the Barrett brothers, who were the core of the rhythm section for the Wailers. And so just a lot of the secondary percussion they put on top of just the regular drum set. I really, you know, got into that.
Oh, like that use of like auxiliary percussion to give the music more of like a syncopated kind of driving feel.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's a little funky, and like I feel like our music is still unquestionably hip hop, but there's always like a slight international vibe that comes with the rhythm, and I always trying to fuse that in there and kind of represent in that way, even though it's more of like a subtle kind of thing.
It's a bit of like a cosmic slop of all these different influences and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Right.
Jane, what MCs inspire you when you're thinking of lyrics or when you were getting started?
Yeah, so when I first started, I always say my first concert was Lauryn Hill and Outkast. So I was 10 or 11. So basically I went from there, obviously the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Then I went into Andre 3000, Lil' Kim, Biggie, Nas, Eminem. Mostly when I first started, that's who I studied. And then I take inspiration from anything and everybody. As long as it inspires me, I try to see it through my own lens. You know what I mean?
So you really take inspiration from a lot like the classic 90s
yeah,
MCs,
for
really?
Sure, for sure.
So you guys definitely have a knack for writing very cool, catchy hooks. How are you able to do that? And what's your process when writing a hook?
To me, it's a natural bridge, from one verse to another, or like Black Love didn't have one. So understanding when to pull back, as well, when to keep it simple, when to go. So it kind of depends on the song, in a case by case basis. Sometimes it's already there. Sometimes we add it first, last. So every song is different.
Yeah. I mean, the hook also, we look at it as like, even if the song isn't so much a fun song, we like to look at it as either the fun part or the payoff. You know what I'm saying? Like, the goal isn't to write boring verses either, But everybody knows when you're just a couple more bars away from the hook, it's kind of like, here we go. It's part where everybody can kind of jam or vibe. I mean, you know, call and response is always a huge thing, you know, with that. I mean, it's just the hook to me it's the whole, it brings the song together. It's usually, you know, the whole central theme is always expressed in the hook. You could look at it as if you're just writing like a essay or something, or just something that you would do in class. It's just, the hook is the payoff. It kind of reminds you why we're all here, what the song is about. And you have to think sometimes, until somebody really invests in wanting to know your music, the hook is the first or the only thing that they're going to walk away with. So, you know, like to me, the hook for the songwriting is just as important as the melody or the groove for the beat, you know.
So you look at it as the thing that you know the audience is going to remember, even if like the specific lines of a verse or something.
Yeah, that's why they call it the hook.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you two develop your chemistry together? Because you, like, I saw you on stage opening for GZA, and you guys really had a great back and forth going.
Man, I think it's just natural because we're around each other a lot. But I mean, we definitely practice. You know, shout out to practicing because it's
Practice?
because it's important.
We talking about practice.
Exactly, always. Because to me, you have to do a full practice in order to tell you what you're gonna do. How do you know how we're gonna interact? So at first, you know, obviously practicing, but we're around each other a lot with running the store, doing fresh produce, music. We write everything together, so it's just like a natural, you know, chemistry that we just have just being around each other.
How'd you two meet?
We met at Red, Black, and Green. It's a party, or not a party, a show that showcases Cleveland hip hop and actually different genres outside of hip hop. But she was DJing that party, and I was performing with my other group, Elemental. And she asked me to come by, make some songs, and we just never stopped from there. So.
Oh, that's cool. So it was really just a very kind of organic process.
Exactly.
And for those of you just tuning in, we're currently talking to Fresh Produce with DJ Red Eye and Plain Jane. So as far as like stage moves, do you practice that beforehand as well? Like how you're going to move around on stage?
Yeah, I definitely understand how my movement on the stage, since I'm the only one up front. So it's only a conversation that I really have to have with myself. But I feed off of the energy of the crowd and the stage, and making sure I use both sides of the stage, the middle, to articulate my point, and bring my verses to life. So
get the whole crowd involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's something that a lot of people just starting really have trouble with, is that they'll be so focused on just the music aspect that they'll just completely neglect the art of being a performer.
It's a lot going on the stage, so I guess at this point I'm really autopilot. But just being prepared and doing practices with myself, practicing my verses, understanding if somebody's, you know, maybe saying your verse or saying your music, how that could take you out, but you have to keep focused and keep going. So, shout out to practice yet again.
Yeah.
Just having it to the point where it's automatic.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play another song by you guys. This one is called Not Coming Back.
Children, cook meals in the kitchen. Calling got me committed to rooms and plane tickets. FaceTime and I'm tripping. You live with my decisions. You wish I wasn't different. I just needed time to admit it. I'm done and I'm finished. I'm done with your line. Nah, I'm done with the crime. Nah, see you ain't trying. I'm ditching. Still paid that ticket. You f***ed up. Admit it. Found an apartment to rich. You bought it. You're bargaining chips. Forgave but never forget. I'm at the edge of the cliff. Dangling, hanging on. Getting weak in chest in my arms. Need you to be strong. I'm gone and I'm in it. Finish the end period. The end of the sentence. No matter what we were dealing, would you defend? Can't pretend I was with it. I just needed time to admit it. I'm done granting your wishes. Hit the bottom of the bottle, I'm gone missing. Did me dirty, now I'm digging. You dig it? Just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, just leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. I gotta make it that it ain't good until you bake it. Icing is sweet, at least to me, in bitter situations. Don't care how you take it, maybe that makes me cold. Nothing's cooking, cake batter sitting in the bowl. I'm out, I gotta go. Don't mean to hurt you, your heels digging in my bones. Can you carry it while I'm in the zone? Put it in context. Can you be the calm in my conquest? After a long day, can I dissolve in your chest? Can I be gentle, baby? I got your back, but what can you been to? I got places to get to. Can't be sensitive, sentimental. After all we've been through, I'm still asking too much cash for some gas, so you can pass on the bus. Just a piece of getting actually the crime of passion or the actions of love. Actions of what? The last shot in the text, last call killed the buzz. Pack the bag in the flash. I'm gonna miss what we was, but just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, just leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Just leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, just leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back. Leave it alone, baby, leave it alone. Now I'm gone and I ain't coming back.
So that song you just heard was Not Coming Back by Fresh Produce off their last album 408. So I was wondering, you guys have your own record store in Hingetown. How'd you guys get that idea to start your own kind of record store and start selling your own music like that?
Well, we were selling our own music before, cause we had started self-releasing, our music. Well, from the beginning, we were self-releasing our music from our label, which is Fresh by Nature. And, you know, the record store, Young Kings, right in Hingetown, it was founded by, Rod Washington, who's, you know, local multi-platform artist. And, we had, taken over in it was November, because we reopened on
Black Friday.
Black Friday. So, you know, we took over ownership and operations of that. It all seemed to fit. I mean, we, you know, perform music, produce music, we do events, we're already selling music and merchandise. I'm a DJ and beat maker, so it's, you know, the local record store was always a place that I was at on a weekly basis, digging for records to spin or just digging for samples. So, you know, it was just like kind of a continuation of what we were doing, and it was, you know, the right fit at the right time. And it's proven every day after we took over to be the right choice.
So at that store, do you guys try to stock a lot of local Cleveland artists that wouldn't necessarily be stocked by other more kind of big box stores?
Definitely. I mean, the whole angle on the store is it's the musician store, like for musicians, by musicians. You know, we have a lot of different projects on consignment. different types of streetwear from Cleveland designers. We have Cleveland artists showcased on our walls, so it's just like we don't want to waste any space. You know, we just want to showcase what the city has to offer, because a lot of times people say that there's nothing going on in Cleveland, and that's not entirely true. It's just that you got to know where to look and what's going on. But at the same time, we have new records, used records, rock, jazz, folk, country, hip hop, electronic, you know, so we just definitely want to be a destination.
That's cool. Yeah, the Cleveland scene definitely is very good, but a lot of it's very underground and kind of hard to find if you're not in the know. So how did you guys first establish yourselves in the hip hop scene in Cleveland?
Well, for me, it was when I was 13, 14, with my band Elemental. So we had a lot of opportunities early on with opening up for Sean Paul, doing Red, Black, and Green when it started 10 years ago, and kind of building off of that momentum. So really using the opportunities and the platforms that were already out here and just plugging ourselves in. So that's how I started and eventually met Brittany at Red, Black, and Green 9 years later.
Yeah, and I've been DJing around since I got out of college, which I think was, 2009. So I've just been on the scene, and, you know, like I really just built up a name for myself. Like, yeah, you know, I spin and play hip hop, but at the time, right around 2010, it was so flooded with DJs on the east side. Everybody's DJing and undercutting people's prices, but everybody wants you to play the same thing. And I knew that my music tastes were was always very, you know, diverse. So I just, you know, kind of went for a different audience. So I would do things like a fusion of 80s and Brazilian and hip hop and funk and just came with more of an international kind of vibe. And it really kind of resonated with people because, you know, it's just a different vibe that people weren't expecting. And it was funky, it was groovy, but it was something, you know, refreshing. And so that's kind of how I got my niche, and as being a very diverse DJ, but that also reflected in my production styles too, because I was always either sampling or playing instruments in a style that was a little bit more like, you know, international.
Instead of just drawing from like the usual R&B soul, you kind of looked at other kind of international artists to try to incorporate them into what you were doing.
Yeah, no, like there's beats that I've made that might be a conventional R&B sample, and I might have made a reggae track out of it. You know, I mean, but just always just doing something a little bit different. And being a person of like an international background, I try and, you know, represent that every time I produce, you know.
Your music always has a very kind of positive message to it a lot of the time. How do you write songs like that?
I guess I'm just a positive person. So it's not, when writing, I never try to be somebody I'm not. So and it's reflected, in my music. So, it is me and it comes from me. And I guess I'm a positive person, so I guess.
It's just a reflection of your personality and
exactly.
kind of just general outlook.
Exactly.
I think it's because also it's so real. Like literally, like Sam writes about what's going on in her life. You know what I'm saying? And if you kind of dig deep and look inside, you only want good things for yourself. So I feel like I'll hear verses that Sam writes that might be about something sad or something super traumatic that happens, but it's like her take on it is how does it relate to me as a person? And we're always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't think it's necessarily people go out of their way to be like, this is going to be a positive, inspirational, uplifting track for the masses. It's almost like, this is how I got through this situation. This is how, like, and not coming back. Like that song was, I'm assuming is from a very sucky part of someone's life.
Hell yeah.
But but at the same time, it's just like, you don't want to leave. You have every reason to leave, but you're conflicted, and you know that you have to find that place in yourself that may not exist yet, but you still have to kind of get back to shore. So, you know, I feel like the triumph in the song is what's positive, even though it's really kind of focused on a negative time.
Yeah. So even though you can't write songs about negative topics, you really look at them from the perspective kind of after the storm has passed, which is very cool because I know a lot of other songwriters just write during the storm and not don't really talk much about what happens after a traumatic event. So, thanks again so much for coming in. Do you guys have any closing statements that you'd like to make?
Yeah. A couple plugs. We actually are in a film in the Cleveland International Film Festival. Our music is actually, and it premieres Friday and on Saturday, and it's called Dispatches from Cleveland. So if anybody's going to that film festival, check out that film and our music in it. And then our next show is at Beachland Ballroom on April 8th with Morning A Black Star, which should be a really, really good show.
And where is the Cleveland International Film Festival?
I believe it's Tower City.
Yeah, they usually have
every year, I believe.
Because they use the theater. But also check out our third album, 4080, which you can find on our official website, wearefreshproduce.com, or at the label site, which is freshbynaturerecords.com. It has all of our projects from the label on there. So from our newest album, 4080, our second album, Deuce, and our debut album that was just about, 2 years old, or is it a year old?
A year.
It's wow, yeah. We've been kind of cranking them out.
A year and a half.
But it's called We Are Fresh Produce, but you can get all of those at freshbynaturerecords.com. Or you can just kind of Google us, but yeah, so, just check us out. We're out here, we do shows around the area, we go on tour overseas, we're just really trying to kind of spread that Cleveland vibe.
Gee, that reminds me of one other thing. So, Fresh by Nature, do you have albums by other artists on that record label, or is it really just a platform for your kind of self-released music?
Well, definitely it started as a platform for us to, self-release our music because we think ownership and having a sense of independence and building your value as an artist first was important. And I've got a solo instrumental project on there. And also we have a compilation which it's about, I want to say about 8 or 9 other producers on it. It's called Residual Outcomes. And it's a compilation of beats from artists from Cleveland all the way to Nice in the French Riviera in the south of France. So, it's just, a lot of beat makers coming together and us doing our thing. And, it's just a showcase. We would love to branch out and work with other artists, but it's, because we're so focused on what we're doing, we're a very independent operation where you just see the two of us. It's just like, we just really want to work with people who are, just on the same page. Other than that, we're just going to keep cranking out our own stuff.
So how did that beat compilation come about? Because is it just producers who you personally know and are friends with? Yeah,
the beat compilation is cool because the A side and the B side have different themes. So the first one is I'll send out a sample, like it was the first one. The A side was a jazz sample from a Japanese artist called Mikio Masuda, and it's called I See the Light. Came out in '76. And I send the sample out to all of my friends. They sent their version of the beat back. So it's kind of like, and then the B side is the old reggae record called Angel of Love by Jackie Edwards. We all did a beat based on that and, submitted it back. So each side is full of different beats, but each side represents one sample to show that, it's all in the eye of the beholder. You can get one sample and get an infinite amount of productions out of it because it's what you do with it.
That's really a fascinating project to really see how different producers interpret one single thing. Mm-hmm. So what's the name of that album again?
It's called Residual Outcomes, and the catalog number is FBN-005. So it's our 5th release on the Fresh by Nature label, and you can find it right on the website there too.